Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com. 5 Italian wines in front of me, various parts of the country, various grapes, various flavours. Let's have a see. First one I've got is the Exquisite collection Gavi. The Exquisite collection is Aldi's upmarket own label, 2012 vintage. Maybe give it a whirl. Now I've got them organised in alcohol order, so we go from 12% of that side up to, is it up to 14 or up to 13? Up to 13.5% with the last one. I stick my nose in here and it doesn't smell like there's an awful lot of wine here. There's a vague, soft, gentle, peachy character, but not all that much beside that. But let's taste it and see whether there's a bit more. Gentle, soft, slightly nutty. Yeah, this vague peach, very ripe, slightly cooked apple. It's okay. It's one of those that no one will dislike it, but equally, I don't think too many people will jump up and down and say, me, give it me now. Let's see whether we can get that reaction with wine number 2, which is Stefano Antonucci's Lavaglier Verdicchio dei Castelli di Jesi 2012. And is it something like their 20th anniversary of their first vintage of this? And there's a bit more going on here. There's a little bit of spice. There's a little bit of and things like nutmeg, cinnamon, on top of cooked apple and pear. There's like a nutty, creamy character. It's strange sometimes when you get old Verdicchio, it develops this nutty, creamy character that you find sometimes in mature Chablis. Let's taste it and see whether there's any Chablis-esque qualities about it. And it's a richer wine than a typical Chablis, but it's got those, what I call the Chablis type characteristics. It's got a richness of fruit, and then a reined-in structure, so there is this acidity and grippiness that gets your mouth in the end, and almost like squeezes the flavours and accentuates them even more. Keeps your mouth fresh, keeps your mouth wanting, saying, I want some more. Pretty tasty wine. I mean, I was talking about aging wines like this. It tastes good now. Sometimes the Verdicchio takes a little bit of time to come out of its shell after it's been bottled. But we are it's September 2013 now, and this feels like it's hitting its stride now. So I wouldn't necessarily tell you to keep it for ages, but it's looking good now. And if you want to keep it for another 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer, fine. I'd dig into it pretty soon because it's rather tasty. Wine number 3. We are in Friuli with the Cannelli Wineries Friulano 2011. Well, I don't know what the soil is around here, but there is a stony, almost a metallic character about it, in a good way. I don't know whether there's volcanic soil, but there is something that reminds me of those ever so slightly nice sulphury volcanic smells, with just a vague metallic hint about it. And again, nice metallic. Does that make sense? It does to me. But with this lime and a bit of peach in there. And it smells like maybe it's going to be one of those wines that's really nice to start with and maybe tail off. I don't know. Let's have a see. And yes, it's got that. It's strange. It's got that stony mineral character to start with. Then there's this rounded, juicy, fleshy fruit and nice flavours. Peach, a bit of pear, with this slightly, I just describe it as volcanic. Probably find there's no volcanic soil anywhere near it, but this touch of minerality coming through. But then what I miss is something to rein the finish in and keep it perky. It just goes that little bit too rounded and soft, and I want a little bit more freshness and vif about it. It's good wine. But maybe it's following the Verdicchio, which did have that character to hold it all together. Good, but not as good as the Verdicchio. Let's see where we get to with wine number 4. We are in Sardinia with the Melis winery and Kalia Vermentino di Sardegna. Vermentino is the grape variety and 2012 vintage. Let's give this a whirl. Well, I've just looked on the back of the bottle. It's 13.5% alcohol. I think of Vermentino as being a grape that is on the fresh, herby side, and it has got a herby nature to it, and a bit of pine resin in there as well. So both typical both of the grape and of Sardinia. But I think it was, I can't remember whether it was 2010 or 2011 vintage of this I've had before. What I remember tasting was it was these nice aromas, but there's really quite a lot of flesh to the wine, and I wasn't sure whether I'd have actually preferred something a little bit sleeker. Let's see whether this is sleeker. So you get that pine and you get the herbs coming through, yes, I think it is a little bit lighter than the vintage I remember. I can't remember whether it's 10 or 11, and I think it's all the better for it. I think that here you've got a little bit more freshness and tang about the wine. Still 13.5%, but it gives a chance for those herbs and the minerally characters and that touch of the touch of pine resin to shine through. Behind it or accompanying it, there's this green apple freshness, a little bit of peach in there, and some ripe citrus too. Nice wine. I probably just about prefer it to the Cannelli, but the Verdicchio is still the class act for me. Let's see whether we can outdo it with the final wine, which is O Greco 2012 vintage. Let's give this one a whirl. Almonds, peach, pear, bit of honey here. It feels like it's going to be rounded and rich, yeah, I look at it as it goes around the glass, and it's slightly sticking to the glass, producing what people used to call legs. I don't really hear people going on about legs now, which is really good. People used to get obsessed by them. But I'll be interested to see whether it's got quite enough. I was talking about freshness and tang on the Cannelli winery. It'd be interesting to see whether it's got the tang to support what seems like are going to be quite weighty, rounded flavours. And yes, it has. Although the strange thing is, it doesn't feel like it's acidity that's supporting, but it feels like it's real. It's a mineral character. It feels like there's something. It's dragged flavours of stone out of the place it's been grown, and they're the ones that are holding the fruit together and stopping it getting too bubbly. I get a little bit of waxy walnut. It's a wine that's got quite a lot of texture, really quite full-bodied and fleshy, but not as oily. And I was wondering whether it was going to be a little bit gloopy, and it's not at all. It's just got weight, depth of fruit, depth of flavour. Really nice wine, I'd probably like it as much as the Verdicchio, maybe even slightly more. Maybe the Verdicchio's one for slightly warmer weather, but this one feels like a good, solid, fleshy winter white. I'll be. Maybe what I need to do is get a plate of food together and have a wine off to see which of these I prefer. Maybe I'll do that, and I will report back to you. See you soon.